Joined by Mr. Rakesh Sharma, the Executive Director at Bajaj Auto, to make sense of the rationale of this buyback and what is the strategy going forward as well. Rakesh, hi, good morning. Thank you so much for making time. Now, the news of the buyback underwent the street a tad bit. What was the reason of going for the open market buyback rather than the tender buyback? Because I'm sure you weighed on both the options in your board meeting. What weighed in favor of the open market buyback route?
Good morning. You are very right. This was certainly one of the things which the board deliberated upon, particularly with regard to the implications on the small retail shareholder. And, both options have their pros and cons and are, applicable for a certain set of conditions like promoter participation or not participation, etc. We chose open market really because of its process efficiencies, and we felt that it was a simpler thing to do and manage the entire operation in a steady manner over a period of time. It's as simple as that and nothing beyond it. And that's the reason why the board chose the open market option.
So, Rakesh, pardon me if I'm asking it a bit more candidly, but does it mean that convenience was the precedence taken over what will create or, create a better shareholder value, a better shareholder return? And also you pointed out that what was discussed was whether promoters will be participating or not. Could you tell us the clarification on that, whether they're participating or not in this buyback?
I didn't say that it was discussed in the board whether promoters are participating or not. This is a promoter decision. It was not a board matter. And we've already said that the promoters are not participating in the buyback. It was just felt, given the conditions which we were facing and the way we wanted to present it, we found that from our perspective, the open market option was a simpler one to execute. That's all.
This is Nayanthara also joining in on the conversation. Can you share with us and everybody who's tuning in that why this proposal didn't go through a month back? I'm only asking this because, we saw how the stock price was also affected. The board didn't approve that. This time round, it has now been approved. It will be open market. You're giving quite a premium to current market price, though.
Well, the last time was a very short board meeting, and the deliberations just spilled over. It's a large board, and to get all the members back in on the same day as quickly as possible was possible only for yesterday. And we were keen to conclude the process and conclude the discussion. And the earliest we could get together was yesterday.
Okay, so moving beyond the buyback news now, just a quick update on how the business, of course, has been performing. These days in the stock markets, we're talking about how auto is taking the leadership space again. Can you give us an update on how the sales traction has been? There's a threat that may come in from Hero with a new electric vehicle next month as well.
Well, for us, if you've been following the company's announcements and results, you will see that Q1 has been a bit of a tepid quarter, largely because of supply chain disruptions, wherein, April, May kind of a period, we were facing even up to a 30% shortfall in what our planned requirements were. But of course, we responded with the development of alternate vendors and all, and we are thankfully now almost at the end of this period where demand requirements were not being met. And by middle of July, we hope to be fully back on track in terms of servicing the demand which we are facing. As a result of this, at least in the domestic market, and also in many large export markets, our channel stocks are very low. And once the supply chain resumes normalcy, our effort will be to, replenish the stock levels and, make up for this lost period of Q1.
Fair, Rakesh. That point is taken. Just wanted to come back to the point of buyback. And please correct me if I'm wrong here. I understand that the cash and cash equivalents on the book is close to 20,000 crore rupees. And after you make this buyback, there will still be substantial cash left on the books. What would be the plan to deploy that? And will the dividend continue in the earlier trajectory as well? Or there will be a flip between, let's say, buyback and dividend going forward?
Well, the cash balance as it stands was 19,000 crores. We are, and one of the reasons for the buyback was to, of course, reward the shareholders with a different mechanism, because there are different kinds of shareholders. Some are oriented towards dividend, some like capital appreciation and things like that. And we have, that was one of the reasons to distribute this cash surplus. Going forward, we have already announced our dividend policy a while back, and we will operate as per that. And come April next year, the board will review the cash position, the requirements from an investment point of view, the business environment at that time. And then, our dividend policy says that anything surplus funds above 15,000 crores, we can go up to 90% distribution, and we will be guided by that at that point of time.
Fair enough. Let's talk more about the business now, and wanted to understand from you, how's the export momentum looking like? There was some demand disruption that happened in Egypt. How are things shaping up there?
The export performances for the last 6 months steady in the range of about 200,000 units per month, give or take 10,000 units, depending on shipping availability, etc. Egypt has faced an interruption for the last 3-4 months because, as you know, in October last year, the Egyptian government had announced a ban on three-wheelers, and it has been a very, very large market for us. Through our local partners there, we are working with the Egyptian government to see how we can still service the intra-city mobility requirements, particularly in the smaller towns in Egypt. So there has been an interruption, and we are hoping that in a quarter or so, we will be able to have some solution for the mobility requirements over there.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you, you've told us that growth is coming back after the tepid first quarter. How are you going to manage pricing? Because, growth is coming back at a time when inflation is also red hot. There's pressure on the wallet. If anybody wants to loan, it's going to cost more. People are buying less shampoo, etc. So obviously, there's going to be pressure for a high value item like a two-wheeler as well. Mr. Sharma, how are you going to manage that in an inflationary background, and when you may need to even undertake price hikes?
Well, the commodity prices, in fact, have softened, and steel, particularly, as you know, has softened. And the kind of inflation which the industry was seeing, let's say about 6 to 9 months ago, which was far more severe than what we are seeing now unfolding. But having said that, who knows what kind of disruption might occur in the future. But at this point of time, the relevant commodity inflation for us has softened a bit, and we don't in its severity. Particularly for Bajaj Auto, with more than 50% of our sales coming from overseas market, this gentle depreciation of the currency of the Indian rupee is a nice mitigating factor for any remnant inflation that we might see.
You've launched recently the new EV manufacturing facility in Pune. Tell us more about what the ramp-up plans are, what we can expect, and are you folks going to have oats for breakfast?
Well, certainly the EV market is, particularly in the scooter segment, showing enormous signs of growth, which is a extremely fortunate situation for us because it allows us to re-enter the traditional or historical playground of Bajaj Auto, which was scooters. As you know, 30% of India is scooters. We were not there. And even overseas markets, particularly places like ASEAN, we have not participated in this scooter market. And this, the arrival of EV and its first cannibalization being scooters for obvious reason, gives us a tremendous opportunity. Our issue is really, again, supply chain, because supply chains are not geared up for a very steep ramp up, and the visibility also is very cloudy in terms of what kind of supply chain one can plan around. So we will certainly, we have inaugurated a new plant. We've, along with it, across the road is a world-class EV dedicated R&D center. So it's right here in Pune, which is where scooter production started many years ago, decades ago for Bajaj. It's a homecoming, and we intend to create foremost a world-class EV center. And as supply chains fall in place, we expect to be really, seizing the leadership over a period of in the medium term, certainly.
Very differently from the new guns that are out there. Safety, of course, being of paramount importance. So I'd like to point out here, when you're hearing the top management interview, they're not talking about getting a product, rushing it on the road. Thank you so much for being live with us. That's Bajaj Auto for you, ladies and gentlemen. 3,881 a piece clocked as far as this counter goes. Watch out for it. Buyback announced yesterday at a considerable premium of 4,000 plus.